It's one of those situations so many of us have either been through or worried about. You've got a loved one, maybe they're elderly or in the hospital, and they urgently need to sign a critical document, but they can't go anywhere. It's this awful moment where life's most serious needs run smack into a logistical wall.
So yeah, what do you do? The papers are all filled out, time is of the essence, but your family member is stuck in a hospital bed. How on earth do you get that official stamp, that legally required notarization, when the signer is completely immobile? It just feels like an absolute roadblock, right when you can least afford one.
And really, that's what it feels like, doesn't it? An impossible errand. The usual plan of just running down to the local bank or notary's office, well, that's completely out of the question. This isn't just some small hassle. It can literally halt major life planning decisions right in their tracks.
And look, we're not talking about just any old paperwork here. These are the heavy hitters. We're talking about a power of attorney, a last will and testament, healthcare proxies. These are the documents that dictate a person's health, their finances, their entire legacy. And the cruel irony is, they often become urgent at the exact moment a person is least able to deal with them.
Here's the bottom line. The legal system's need for a notarized signature doesn't just, go away because someone is sick or homebound. If anything, that's when it's needed most. And that gap between the need and the ability to fulfill it creates so much stress for families just trying to do the right thing.
But it's not even just about the travel. Showing up to do a notarization at a hospital bedside or in a nursing home, that comes with a whole other set of challenges. It requires a completely different kind of approach. This quote really gets to the heart of it. The notary isn't just walking into a sterile office. They're entering a very personal, very sensitive space. The person they're helping is at their most vulnerable. So this job becomes about so much more than just a stamp and a signature. It's about patience, about compassion, about real care.
And this chart just lays it all out, doesn't it? In a normal office, the client comes to you, you assume they're alert, their ID is right there in their wallet, it's fast, it's transactional. But at the bedside, the notary travels to them. They have to carefully check if the person is truly aware of what's going on, especially if they're on medication. Heck, even finding their ID might be a challenge. It's a whole different world.
So what's the answer? Well, if the person can't get to the notary, the solution is actually pretty simple, but it does require a very specific kind of service. The notary has to come to the person. This is the big pivot, where we stop talking about the problem and start talking about the solution.
And let's be clear, this isn't some luxury service or a simple convenience. It is an absolute necessity. To get these critical documents signed and legally binding, the service itself has to be mobile, flexible, and ready to meet people exactly where they are. And that's exactly what a mobile notary service is. It's a certified professional who exists to bridge that gap. They bring the full legal authority of a notary public right to a hospital room, a nursing home, or even a private home. Problem solved. And for anyone in Massachusetts who's nodding along right now thinking, yes, that's me, there's a service built specifically to handle this exact situation. It's called hiremobilenotary.com. And they're really focused on being right where people need them. They specialize in serving hospitals and nursing homes all across the state, from Metro Boston and Cambridge all the way up to Lowell and the surrounding towns like Andover, Tewksbury, and Billerica. Okay, so let's say you need to use a service like this. What do you actually need to do to prepare? Let's walk through the steps to make sure everything goes off without a hitch.
It really boils down to 5 key things. First, have the documents totally filled out and ready to go. Second, and this is so important, the signer has to be aware and understand what they're signing. Third, they need to have a valid, unexpired photo ID handy. Fourth, book and pay for the appointment beforehand so your spot is locked in. And finally, the actual signing has to happen with the notary physically present. Now, this next point is absolutely critical to understand. A notary's job is to verify identity and witness a signature. That's it. They are strictly legally forbidden from giving any kind of legal advice. So if you have questions about the document itself, what it means, or what the consequences are, you have to talk to your lawyer before the notary ever arrives. So what kind of ID do you need? It's pretty straightforward, actually. A driver's license or a state ID card from any state in the U.S. works perfectly. A valid U.S. passport is great, and even a valid foreign passport is acceptable. The main things are that it's government issued, has a photo, and isn't expired. When you pull all this together, you start to see that this is about something so much bigger than just logistics or paperwork. It's really about access, dignity, and the ability to take action during life's most challenging times. Because being able to get a notary to someone's bedside, that's providing them access to their fundamental rights. It's making sure that age or illness or being stuck in one place doesn't become a barrier that stops them from making their own legal and personal wishes known. So, if you or someone you know in the Massachusetts area is in this exact situation, the first step couldn't be easier. You can find everything you need and book an appointment right on their website, hiremobilenotary.com. Or, hey, if you'd rather just talk to a person, you can call to get a quote and schedule a time. Just grab a pen. The number is 978-424-4629. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. At a person's most challenging and vulnerable moments, when everything feels uncertain, isn't making sure they can still have their voice heard legally and officially a fundamental part of upholding their dignity?